Please welcome Emanuela Friscioni, Director of Creative Arts Academy.
Good morning. Are you having a good time so far? Yay! My name is Emanuela Friscioni. I'm the director of the Creative Arts Academy. You just saw our amazing dancer performing. And thank you so much. I had the privilege to serve in the host committee for Dance USA, and it's been a pure joy to have you all here coming to fruition after a year of planning. We are very excited that Cleveland was selected to be the city for Dance USA. We know how important the conference is and how it means to the industry, and so that means that Cleveland is well on the spotlight for arts education, and dance. This conference would not be possible without the help of supporters, in particular the Cleveland Foundation that supported not only the activity of the host committee and the conference, but is a major reason why we are able to provide programs like the Creative Arts Academy, Dance Academy, Mastery Program throughout the city of Cleveland, and is having a huge impact on the life of many students and the community as well. I really would like to thank Dance USA I know that is not something that has been done in the past, so I'm really thankful that they allow us to open up the plenary to this morning with our young dancers, and I hope you really enjoyed it. It is really a special moment for us to share with you the talent that we have in the city, and I know there are plenty of activities ahead of us in the next couple of days, and tonight with the concert, with the showcase, but I am really honored to be part of this organization as well as the Creative Arts Academy, and to serve with all of you to maintain the arts of dance well and alive for many, many years to come. So, without further ado, I know that we are all eager to start all the activities. So again, welcome to Cleveland, and I hope you're going to have a fantastic time, and thanks for all you're doing for the arts of dance. Thanks.
Please welcome Kevin Schmatzer, Executive Small Business Development at the City of Cleveland.
Hello there. How is everybody? One more time. How is everybody? Good morning. There you go. Wasn't that performance amazing? My name is Kevin Schmatzer. I'm the Executive of Small Business Development under Mayor Frank G. Jackson. He welcomes all of you to our great city. He could not be here today. Who is their first time here to the city of Cleveland? Please raise your hand. What do you think of our great city? This is the first time this conference is held here. How about the place last night? How was that for an opening reception? Did you all enjoy that? There's some great history there. So, well, it is a great pleasure to welcome all of you to our great city. We have an amazing city here. We have some great restaurants, some great parks, great things to do, a lot of culture in our city. For those who don't know, we are the second biggest theater district outside of New York City. I just found out Houston seems to differ on that. I'm going to have to pick up my phone call with my colleagues in Houston and have that conversation. But the theaters, if you can, get a chance to see these theaters. You're going to see a lot of great dance here, but definitely see some of our assets that we have here in the city of Cleveland. I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't give recognition to 4 individuals, and I do know 2 of them, who helped to bring this conference here to the city of Cleveland. And I'm going to name these 4 individuals, and please raise your hands so everyone can see you, because these 4 individuals, from what I understand, they were the voices that helped bring this conference here to the city of Cleveland. Jane D'Angelo, she's the Executive Director of Ohio Dance. David Shima Takahara, he's the founder and artistic director of Groundworks Dance Theater in Cleveland. And I know this next person who I'm going to announce, Mary Birdie Fletcher. She's the founder and executive director of Dancing Wheels. And I most recently met this next person, Pamela Young. She's the director of Dance Cleveland here. And let's give these 4 individuals, again, one final round of applause for what they did. You're going to see a lot over here the next few days here in our conference. Please, please, please enjoy this conference. If you get a moment, step outside, walk around. See this little pond that we have here, also known as Lake Erie? There's some great fish that they catch out of Lake Erie. We have some great walleye and some perch. If you go to any of our local restaurants, order some of the perch and the walleye. But again, on behalf of Mayor Jackson and the City of Cleveland, I want to thank all of you for coming and have a great time at this conference. Thank you.
Please welcome David Green, Senior Vice President of Programming at Playhouse Square.
Thank you, and good morning, and welcome to Playhouse Square. My name is David Green. I'm the Senior Vice President of Programming here, and I have to tell you that our staff has been really excited about this conference for about the last year when we found out that it was coming, and we started the planning process through monthly conference calls and weekly emails, sometimes daily emails. It has been an absolute pleasure working with the leadership team at Dance USA, especially Amy and Sydney and all of the folks that have worked so closely with them, as well as the local host committee, which Kevin just mentioned a few of those a minute ago. Playhouse Square is a vibrant neighborhood in downtown Cleveland, and we keep it alive by activating 3 pillars of our mission. I know you're wondering, what are those 3 pillars? So I'm going to tell you. First pillar, presenting and producing a wide variety of quality of performing arts. So we have 11 performance venues here at Playhouse Square, 9 of them on this side of the street, 2 of them across the street. You're going to see many of them. And some of them are nearly 100 years old. They'll be celebrating the 100th birthday in the 2021-22 season. We do about 1,100 performances per year, and this past year welcomed 1.2 million guests through our doors at Playhouse Square. Many of those performances were presented by many people in this room, including Dance Cleveland, the Cleveland Ballet, Cleveland State University School of Theater and Dance, which all of those groups call Playhouse Square their home. Tri-C Performing Arts, Groundworks Theater, Dancing Wheels, which I hope you'll have the opportunity to see Dancing Wheels performance tomorrow night in the Allen Theater. Inlet Theater, and of course, our annual dance showcase, which is presented by Terry and Shelley Edelman, I understand received a prestigious award last night at your opening reception. And that showcase is tonight, and we hope to see many of you there as well. The second pillar of our mission is advancing arts education. So we serve about 235,000 students and teachers annually here. We provide sensory-friendly performances for children's theater series, and this year we will be doing our first sensory-friendly performance for a Broadway show with The Lion King in August. We offer unique enrichment opportunities in conjunction with shows, produce a High School Musical Theater Awards. We call them the Dazzle Awards. They're a feeder system for the Jimmy Awards, which is a High School Musical Theater national program on Broadway. And we send two winners from the Dazzle Awards there to participate in 10 days worth of amazing opportunities on a Broadway stage with a Broadway director, choreographer, et cetera. And we participate in the Disney Musicals in Schools program, which is a program that serves underserved school districts that don't have arts education programming at all. And this introduces arts education to those particular districts. The third pillar is creating a superior location for entertainment, business, and residential living. So Playhouse Square owns and operates 1 million square feet of property in downtown Cleveland, most of which is in this neighborhood. We also manage an additional 1 million square feet in downtown and around the suburbs. And you may notice as you're out on the street, you hear a bunch of noise, a lot of banging around this week. We are building a 34-story luxury apartment complex across the street, which will further add vitality to this neighborhood. It's hard to believe that in the early 70s, these theaters were planned to be torn down. In fact, the wrecking ball was right on Euclid Avenue, right in front of the theaters. And if not for a few visionaries and the community coming together, these buildings would have been parking lots. And I'm not sure what people would have been parking here to do. But today, as Kevin mentioned, Playhouse Square is the second largest performing arts center in North America, second only to Lincoln Center. We're very proud of that. So as you make your way around Playhouse Square and next door at the Idea Center, and which, by the way, the Idea Center is home of WVIZ, our local PBS television station, and WCPN, the local NPR station, as well as WCLV, classical music station, and home to Playhouse Square's arts education programs. You'll see a lot of folks in red jackets. Say hello to them. They are one of our stable of 2,000 volunteers that make Playhouse Square operate, and they will be happy to help you get from point A to point B, because you're going to get to see a lot of varying places of Playhouse Square and the district. So engage with them. Welcome to Cleveland. Welcome to Playhouse Square. We hope you have an excellent conference. There's a lot of fun stuff planned for you, and I look forward to seeing you over the next couple of days. Thank you.
Please welcome Bob Middleton, Director of Arts Insurance Program.
Good morning, Dance USA. This is my 11th conference for Dance USA. I was told originally that after 10, I got the next one free. I had a card, but I lost it, so Amy says I can't take advantage of that. So I got a bill for this year, so we'll see how Denver goes. This is our 4th consecutive year of being the platinum sponsor for the conference, and we can't be more pleased with that role. I was asked yesterday at the airport by a Dance USA member, why do you do this? Why do you continue being a sponsor for Dance USA? And I looked at him and I thought to myself, Bob, why are you doing this? And I came up with 2 very good reasons for why we do this. The first being that involvement with the dance community on a national basis allows us to work with the most energetic, focused people that believe in their art, that we would never have that opportunity otherwise. Whether it's a ballet that employs hundreds of people and has been around for over 50 years, to a dance graduate student who's starting up her first showcase, the energy and the involvement of the people in those organizations shows their desire to provide an art form to the community that really we don't see anywhere else. The other reason is we work with performing arts organizations on an international basis, and at some point in time, they have to describe to us exactly what their art is. What are they actually doing? And for many of those, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit, theatrical, or whatnot, it usually takes 3 or 4 sentences or a paragraph to actually describe what are they doing. And one of the earliest Dance USA events that I participated in, it came up that dance is movement, and that was it. The concept, one word, movement, really says it all. No matter what type of a operation you have or one type of a performance you're doing, the concept of movement itself as being supported by Dance USA really provides you with a desire to help all the areas that they get involved in. So I highly recommend to all those that are currently sponsors, those that continue to sponsor, and those that haven't, to go forth and to support this amazing art form through Dance USA, because it is one of the most satisfactory things I've ever done in my career. Thank you all very much.
Please welcome Amy Fittterer, Executive Director of Dance USA.
Good morning, good morning. So how are you all feeling? Yes, that was a fabulous way to start out today with the dance performance and that wonderful energy and the highly talented students. So I'm pumped. I'm ready to go from that. So I'm actually going to jump right in and start with the land acknowledgement that some of you may have heard last night. But I think that it's very important that when we're all together, that we do take time to acknowledge the land that we are standing on. So I also commented last night, and I share this again, that land acknowledgements are a small step, but they are an important step to demonstrate commitment and to raise visibility for the Indigenous community. So Dance USA reached out to the Lake Erie Native American Council and asked them if they would like to come or how would they like us to acknowledge this land. And they gave us a statement, and with permission, I will be reading that to you. In recognizing the land upon which we reside, we express our gratitude and appreciation to those who lived and worked here before us, those whose stewardship and resilient spirit makes our residence possible on this traditional homeland of the Lenape, Delaware, Shawnee, Wyandotte, Miami, Ottawa, Potawatomi, and other Great Lake tribes, which include Chippewa, Kickapoo, Wea, Pinakashaw, and Kaskaskia. We also acknowledge the thousands of Native Americans who now call Northeast Ohio their home. The greater Cleveland area occupies land officially ceded by 1,100 chiefs and warriors in signing the Treaty of Greenville in 1795. And if you've been coming to our conferences, and you are aware that a very important part of my job is to acknowledge and thank the many places that we host our conference and the many sponsors and funders that help make this possible. So I do ask if you will please hold your applause until I get through our acknowledgements, and then we can have one wonderful round of applause to celebrate everyone. So we begin with our host venues. I would like to thank the Cleveland State University, Cleveland Public Library, the Cleveland Metropolitan Conference Center, Playhouse Square, and Cleveland History Center. I would also like to acknowledge our platinum sponsor, the Arts Insurance Program, and our gold sponsor, DeWitt Stern. In addition, I would like to thank our silver sponsors, Capacity Interactive, Freed of London, DLR Group, Harlequin, and our bronze sponsor, Normatec. In addition, there are many welcome sponsors that came together, and they have objects and paper and passouts in your tote bags. So I do hope that you take the time to look at the materials they provided for you. I would also like to acknowledge the 2019 Annual Conference funders, the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, the Harkness Foundation for Dance, the Schubert Foundation, the Wallace Foundation, and to acknowledge the National Endowment for the Arts for their project support in part of this gathering. I would also like to acknowledge the many local funders that must come together to pull this off. Please, if you can take a look here, this is a lot of work for the local host committee, but this is what it takes to bring all of us together to learn and share. In addition, I would like to acknowledge the American Express Foundation and the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation for their support of our Institute for Leadership Training, and the Max and Victoria Dreyfus Foundation and the College of Fine Arts at the University of Kentucky for their support of our Dance Business Bootcamp. So now, let's have a wonderful round of applause for all of those sponsors and venues and partners. As you have heard, we also want to make sure we acknowledge our steering committee leaders who are also Dance USA trustees, and the amazing entire Cleveland Host Committee and Honorary Committee. Thank you for all of your work. Now, last year at our annual conference, I had the great pleasure of announcing Dance USA's new strategic plan. And in that plan, we adopted a new vision, mission, values, priorities that really, in many ways, were catching our language up to the commitment Dance USA had made in the past years. I still find this language very inspiring, and I'm very encouraged that it's continuing us in the right direction. Dance USA's vision, propelled by our belief that dance can inspire a more just and humane world. Dance USA will amplify the power of dance to inform and inspire a nation where creativity and the field thrive. Our mission, Dance USA champions an inclusive and equitable dance field by leading, convening, advocating, and supporting individuals and organizations. Dance USA's core programs are focused in the areas of engagement, advocacy, research, and preservation. Dance USA's values are something that our strategic planning committee spent many, many hours debating because we really wanted to get it right. Creativity, because we believe that creativity inspires change, and we also believe that creative capacity will help us create a world that maybe doesn't exist yet, but that we can imagine. Connectivity, Dance USA strives to be a catalytic network enlivened by connection, community, and collaboration. Equity, through the lens of equity, Dance USA strives to remove the boundaries erected by a legacy of racism, classism, ableism, ageism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, gender bias, and xenophobia. And we work to dismantle institutional and systemic oppression that attack the dance field's progress. Integrity. Integrity is critical to how our organizational culture and how we work and lead. So it is now with my great pleasure that I get to announce the inaugural round of Dance USA's Fellowships to Artists. At last year's conference, I was able to announce that we were beginning this program, and so it's very exciting for me to come back 12 months later and actually say, we did it. We have awarded over $1 million to 31 artists who are working to address social change. I am very, very grateful to the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation for their support of this program. You can see here that the Dance USA Fellowships to Artists is striving to support artists working in a wide array of dance forms and genres. There are artists in Alaskan Inuit drum dancing, hula, hoop dancing, interdisciplinary native art, traditional dances of Africa, Cambodia, and the Philippines, salsa, capoeira, Chicago footwork, hip-hop, house, social. There is this amazing collection of artists coming together, and many of them are actually here in the room with us. So I would like to ask the Dance USA Artist Fellows to wave your hands, to stand if you are able, so that we may be able to celebrate you. These are amazing artistic voices, many who have actually been working for decades. And they not only deserve this work, this funding, but they are also helping to make our world a better place. So we're very grateful for everything that you do. I also wanted to take this time while we were together and I had shared our values to talk a little bit about trans equity and Dance USA's commitment. As you know, Dance USA has been on a journey. We are striving to become a more welcoming organization for all dance makers. And part of this includes making sure that the facilities we use, and yes, that means the bathrooms that we use, are not just fully accessible, but are also all gender bathrooms. If you've been attending Dance USA conferences for the past several years, You would have noticed that bathrooms in our conference facilities have signage that marks them as gender inclusive, gender neutral, or encourages people to use the bathroom that aligns with their gender expression. At our beautiful venue today, there are single-stall, accessible, all-gender bathrooms available. And due to some unforeseen circumstances, which happens, there are also gendered bathrooms. These are marked ladies and gentlemen. We encourage our attendees to use the bathrooms that best support their gender expression. Please know that Dance USA is committed and champions the ideal situation that all of our dance spaces all across this country offer only fully accessible all-gender bathrooms. As Sean Dorsey, a Dance USA Artist Fellow and transgendered modern dance choreographer says, anything less than total access and total safety is exactly that. It's not accessible and it's not safe. Sean goes on to say that gendered bathrooms keep trans people out of public spaces. Gendered bathrooms put our transgendered and gender nonconforming dance community members at risk of being ridiculed, harassed in these bathrooms, of being hassled by security, being arrested by law enforcement, or being physically assaulted. We have many, and it's growing, trans dance makers in this country and in our conference and gatherings. I wanted to share this with all of you because I want to see Dance USA continue to champion an inclusive and equitable dance field as our mission states. I want to see us to continue build trust with the various segments of the dance field so that all dance makers of all walks of life can say, yes, we are a place to come together and support each other. If you haven't already, I encourage you to look into the bathrooms in your own dance organizations. Are they fully accessible? Are they welcoming to all genders? As leaders, creators, administrators, and funders, let's think and act on all of this if we truly want to be inclusive of the breadth of the entire dance field. Thank you. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our keynote. Are you ready? You are all very patient in listening to all of us up here. Prumsodun Ok is also one of Dance USA's Artist Fellows. Prumsodun Ok was born to Khmer refugees in the United States, and he rose from the poverty and violence-stricken inner city of Long Beach to become the new face of Khmer dance. He uses his art to heal, illuminate, and empower, reviving the spirit of his people from the enduring forces of conflict. He is seen by many as a champion of the Khmer culture. He is an artist, teacher, and writer. Prumsodun has received substantial grants and fellowships and recognition, including TED, MAP Fund, and Cerna Foundation, and has been a guest speaker and choreographer at the California Institute of the Arts, UCLA, Santa Monica College, and others. He is the founding artistic director of Prumsodun Ok NATYARASA, Cambodia's first gay dance company. Please join me in welcoming Prumsodun Ok to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Suasday. It's truly an honor to stand before you all, stand before some of the leading movers and shakers in the world of American dance. I hope that by sharing my humble experience in this short time together, the voices that are too often ignored and unheard, the lives that never make it onto this stage and that of so many others, can further emerge. And like a golden drum rising and beating in the height of the sky. I hope that these voices and lives, voices of the past, present, and future, embodied by the singular movements of persons and peoples all over the world, can resound and shine upon every surface of this earth. My name is Prumsodun Ok. I am the son of Khmer refugees. My parents and some of my elder siblings survived the Khmer Rouge genocide, which saw the deaths of an entire third of Cambodia's population. They escaped to camps along the Thai border with limited food, violent conflict, and human trafficking, before finally resettling in the United States. I was born and raised in Long Beach, California. My formative years filled with the interracial tensions and gang warfare of a post-Los Angeles race riots community. I remember shooting marbles with my friends before the sound of a speeding car would suddenly stop. Young men armed with bats and sticks and knives running out to attack the boys nearby. I remember the uncertainty and shame of too many teenage girls dropping out of high school, pregnant, shunned, and sometimes abandoned. I remember not being able to say what I needed to say, to talk about life with the people who gave me life, because already old and trapped in the home with too many children, my parents never had the time or the money to learn English. And I, on the other hand, like so many Khmer Americans of my generation, couldn't speak our mother tongue because it was not the language used in school or the language used in the cartoons playing on television. In this world of cyclical violence and poverty, of uneducation and miseducation, of cultural rifts and generational trauma, it is easy to see how someone could slip through the cracks to become the unseen, the invisible, the unheard. And in such a precarious world, it is easy to understand how someone like myself could long for more, yearn for a way out, hunger for an end to the pain and suffering. Dance was my escape. I began training in Khmer classical dance at the age of 16. My teacher, Sopalin Chim Shapiro, molded my young body amongst a sea of girls, giving me access to a tradition popularly understood as a female art form. Every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I found safety and refuge in the studio, the practice and perfection of each step and gesture a move towards the divine. The sonorous ringing of pinpiet music flowing from the stereo like a steady and powerful river. The smell of incense planted into fruit offerings filling the air. The laughter of my teacher and friends. The sadness of the world seemed to fade away in this new haven. Within a month of training, I became one of my teacher's most promising students. And due to an accident, a dancer was sewn in too tight into her costume. I made my debut at the World Festival of Sacred Music at Malibu's Lake Shrine. After the performance, a nun approached me, my costume ill-fitting, my makeup clumsy on my scarred face. She stood before me about 2 arms distance length and said, "You are beautiful." Maybe that performance was coincidence, or maybe it was fate, but this was the beginning of a new world, a world where I seen and valued. I relished every opportunity to don a Khmer classical dance costume, to wear the gilded crowns and jewelry, the gold-threaded sequined and velvet, the silk skirts of gold brocade, costumes that catch light even in darkness. And as I performed beneath the Los Angeles skyscrapers during grand performances, and as I flew on a plane for the first time to perform with my teacher at the Oakland Museum, I got a fuller taste of the world's richness and magic. I fell in love with beauty and with life. I wanted to become an artist. Since then, many things have happened. I studied experimental filmmaking and photography at the San Francisco Art Institute. I danced alongside Maisa Duke and her Energia do Samba. I was threatened with physical attacks for queering Cambodia's most popular classical dance. Later, my mentor Oguri would push me to dance through our Chime Fellowship and through the pain of my father's passing. And years later still, I would quietly sell my gold necklace, the only heirloom I had from that man who gave me life, so that I could pay my dancers, the dancers of Prumsodun Ok NATYARASA, Cambodia's first gay dance company. Throughout this journey of joys and tears, of sacrifices and uncertainties, I have come to better understand what home is. Home is witnessing the cycle of knowledge and love turn, watching my students ride on a plane for the first time, the excitement and wonder in their eyes as we make our way to Hong Kong or India. Home is hearing my student tell a group of German and Swiss students that being in the company has allowed him to see beauty, not just in dance, but in music and painting too. Home is the young stranger at a gay bar who tells me that he cried when I mentioned my dance company in my TED Talk. Home is the place where I can serve humanity in my fullest capacity. There's this idea in comparative mythology, the hero always returns home. And for a Khmer American like myself, for all people who are born in, of, and between many different cultures and approaches, we know that we have many homes. We live in the eyes and hearts of others, in the traditions that we practice, shape, and create, in our notions of personal and collective identity. And now that I stand before you here, home amongst people committed to the art of dance, transformed from the lone boy in class to the new face of Khmer dance, I'd like to offer a few reflections in the hopes that it may push us all to a higher place. First off, having lived and worked in both Cambodia and the United States, practicing what some would call a traditional art, I know firsthand that the legacy of colonialism is alive and well. Because what I do is labeled as traditional, it's mistaken as static and lifeless. And because it is perceived this way, it is imagined as useless to life and society. It therefore fails to be valued in the programs presenters curate or by the grants and fellowships funders award. This has dire, real-world consequences, shaking the strength and confidence of individual artists, dissolving the threads that bind and connect our communities across time and space, and hindering the health and economic resilience of the people who carry and value these art forms, which, in the United States, are often people of color. Tradition, in fact, is an ongoing process of movement, growth, and transformation. And in a generative dance between the old and the new, there are some things that change and some things that always stay the same. The knowledge and spirit of our ancestors, the magic and power of the divine, incarnate and reincarnate in each of our gestures and bodies differently, much like how the taste of water is dependent on its vessel, the air and surroundings the vessel sits in, as well as a person's tongue and state of being. Tradition is timeless beauty and enduring freshness, a truth that survives the many fads of the many moments that have brought us to today. Tradition is shaped and forged by the visions of singular artists, even if we don't always remember their names. Tradition, however, is not the opposite of contemporary, a word we must also revalue. Contemporary does not mean innovative. It does not mean groundbreaking. It does not mean beautiful. It does not mean meaningful. It does not mean purposeful. It does not mean universal. We must acknowledge that contemporary means with time, and we are all in, of, with, and between time. Furthermore, we must honor the truth that contemporary is more than white bodies, white aesthetics, and white power, which, by the way, can manifest in and as people of color too. We need to recognize the intersected lineages to which all our lives and practices belong, and to pick but one moment in this line as an example. Ted Shawn, dubbed the father of American modern dance, traveled the world over to research and observe the rich performance traditions of humanity. Speaking of Khmer classical dance, he wrote in the 1920s. Tagore cried in one of his poems, "Who can strain the blue from the sky? How can I then strain from the dances of ancient Khmer their adorable perfume, color, and rhythm, and bring them home to America?" And yet, while we never could duplicate or recreate this dance art exactly, it has many tangible principles which are universal in their application, and thus should be learned and used. If the dancing in any one country is truly great, it must have been founded on principles which are true everywhere. And thus the study of these principles is of value to every country. In the study of the dances of every nation and race of the world, I am never concerned with imitation, but with surprising the secret source of their charm and beauty, that I, too, may tap that source and let the divine essence flow through me, perhaps in new forms, to the world. The question is then, in the lines and lineages of American dance, who and what did Ted Shawn make possible? After living in Phnom Penh, a city in rapid building and transition, one exuding an organic chaos in the air, one where it feels that anything is possible, I've come to realize that our cultural institutions in America and around the world are too heavy. They move too slow. They are afraid of risk. Their connections to the surrounding communities are at times questionable or minimal at best. We validate ourselves at blue-chip theaters, prestigious museums, and famous universities. But how often do our ideas leave the safety of their walls? We talk about creating vibrancy in our neighborhoods, but are our systems and institutions designed to move visions, voices, and dollars quickly enough to generate such a buzz in the air? From my experience, the people in positions of power are not moving fast enough. The problem is not their privilege. The problem is what is or is not done with it. Once, in a certain island nation, I was sharing my work with a presenter from another island nation. Although she was excited about what I was doing and telling others to come see, I knew that she could never present my company and I because the government that funds her theater considers homosexuality a crime. Once, in another country, I was pitching for a prize, and one of the coaches tells me to de-emphasize the LGBTQ aspects of my work because she knows the audience and she wants to protect me. I tell her I cannot do this and explain the ethos of my company. She cries silently as I begin to reread my pitch. I also didn't win that night. And one time, one of many, I saw an American foundation call for proposals from LGBTQ advocacy groups in select countries in Southeast Asia, but not Cambodia, even though there's no one in the region or world doing what we're doing. We all have our visions, strategies, and approaches, our friends and cliques even. But how do we move forward on our journeys without letting others become missed opportunities? Do we serve our systems and institutions, or do we serve people? Are our theaters, our museums, our schools, and the people who create their narratives and their stories altruistic? On whose tears are their foundations built? Furthermore, what does systemic and institutional activism look like? Is our culture, our society, open and fluid enough for young artists to create and forge our own systems? Are we making room? Lately, I have lost a sense of confidence in the human powers that be. I tell myself that I must find a way to stand on my own feet because it's not healthy to wait for a curator or producer to come by. It's not healthy to survive off foundations or government agencies. Furthermore, I don't know that these people actively search for and seek out people like myself, or that they even care. I wish that when I was younger, someone taught me about money because, as someone who comes from the background that I come from, it's something that I'm having to play a game of catch-up with in my adult life. I don't have a rich family. I come from one of the most economically and educationally disadvantaged communities in the United States. I never had the privilege to just dance in California, and now, thousands of miles away, in an environment lacking government support and human resources, I find myself trying to give this privilege to others. Beyond teaching and choreographing and designing costumes and directing and managing and writing emails and mopping the floor, I am fundraising so that I can give my dancers a base salary of $200 per month. This is nothing by American standards, and nowhere near what I want to pay them. But it's enough for them to live on their own, and they have used it to support their families, pay for their college tuitions, and invest in their own small businesses. And because resources are few and far between in Cambodia, I have had to sharpen my own entrepreneurial capacities to be an ongoing rock and foundation for these young men, for the tradition that we love, for LGBTQ people, for Cambodia, for a better world. Happiness, success, and well-being looks different for each person. But in the case of my dancers and I, It's having the resources to live with pride, dignity, and independence so that we can create and perform this way. It's democratizing the field and culture of dance, creating a world where we are seen and heard and respected. It's being able to take care of the people and things we care for. I therefore encourage the artists in this room and beyond to really look at our relationships with money and business so that we can all be better masters of our practices and world. Nothing is more painful than having the vision without the power and resources for realization. And I don't know about you, but I've decided that I want to be the type of person that can make art, build schools, theaters, and museums, create jobs and provide scholarships without having to ask for anyone's permission. It's a big dream and a lot of work. And in my ongoing endeavors for self-sustainability and growth, I'll admit that I am sometimes tired and devoid of hope. In moments where it seems that everything is falling apart, I have wanted to walk silent into the ocean at night, to leave nothing but the crashing of the waves in darkness. But I have never loved my life more. I am thankful for my friends and champions who have pulled me up when I have fallen. Their kindness, generosity, and hope pushing me forward on this precious journey. I am thankful for the young men who have committed themselves to my vision and our tradition, standing beside me through thick and thin. I am thankful that I can dance and create on my own terms. Now I finally understand, in my blood and in my bones, how and why the artistic giants of old have often said, "My first love is art." As we come together in these next few days, as our lives intertwine, I'd like to ask an important question. Why? Why are we the ones to be born the way we are in this moment in time? Why are we here? Why do we dance? As icebergs melt, forests disappear, and animals become extinct. As families and refugees cross dangerous lands and seas, as AI blurs the line between human and machine and the rich look to space colonization and immortality, as female, native, black, brown, LGBTQ, and differently abled bodies and lives are stripped of their agency, are shamed, harassed, policed, abused, and destroyed, why do we dance? What is the efficacy of our gestures, the purpose, meaning, and value of our lives? Who are we living and dancing for? I imagine that the answers are rich and countless, the lines of our lives and practices being of different colors, weights, materials, and sources. With honesty, vulnerability, and pride, I hope that we can all share our individual and collective journeys in this temporary home that we are creating, and may it be a safe space where we hold good hearts and intentions, one where we trust and believe in the good nature of the others in the room and in the world, one where we, despite however difficult it is, possess the openness to listen, to hear, and to change. Now, change is dangerous. Art is dangerous. Beauty is dangerous. In the urgency of our conversations and interactions, there may be moments of discomfort and tension. But contemplate the idea of a mother giving birth. Contemplate a teething baby. Contemplate growing pains. Contemplate our popular saying, "The truth hurts." Meditate on how the fire that burns has the power to both destroy and to transform. Can this moment be an opportunity for us to jump into a fire of purification, letting go of the things that hinder us, cooking and transforming that which holds potential, so that we can elevate the state of art and humanity? What if, after jumping, we stood in, lived in, and danced in such a fire? What would our lives look like and mean? To push us forward, please allow me to offer the knowledge and wisdom of my ancestors, embodied by the dance tradition I carry in the search for our whys. In ancient days, Khmer classical dancers were offered to temples as living bridges between heaven and earth. They were known as Knyom Prehrabam, or slaves of the sacred dance, which has its equivalent in the Sanskrit terms Devadasi or Devadasa. Their dancing bodies carried the prayers of the people up to the gods, and the will of the deities was delivered back through them to the people and the land. Originating as a form of animist and ancestral worship, a prayer for rain and prosperity, the art took on more layers of meaning in its marriage to Hindu and Buddhist philosophies. In its union with the former path, it became a tool for social justice and morality. The Natya Shastra, an ancient Hindu treatise, describes how, in a world of moral and social decay overrun by demons, the gods gave knowledge of the arts to human beings so that they may lead others towards spiritual transcendence. The first performance on earth is described as extremely contentious, with demons obstructing the performance and threatening to kill the performers. Centuries ago, then, according to the dawn of art, according to Hindu belief, our ancestors were already talking about censorship and speaking truth to power. In short, in the highest understandings of my tradition, the dancer is one who serves the triumph of good and the elevation of humanity, a force of social action and change. The dancer is vital to nothing less than life itself, a necessary agent in the movement and continuity of the cosmos. I fuse these powerful roles with the image of the Bodhisattva, beings of infinite grace and unbreakable light who, although having the ability to reach nirvana, choose to be reborn in this world of suffering to inspire the enlightenment of all beings. In fact, in an ancient Buddhist text, dancers are described as householder bodhisattva. How can our gestures embody the radical compassion of the bodhisattvas, beings who contain entire universes in their palms, who have fed themselves to starving tigers and jumped into fires for the sake of others? When we are selfless, who or what is allowed to dance? What does fearless love and liberating knowledge look like in the body? What are the images, the stories, the states of being that we are creating as individuals and as collectives? And how can our bodies, our thoughts, our speech, in both our dances on stage and in life, lead us to transcendence? To bring this down to the everyday, I'd like to share the words of an ancestor who lives in my blood and in my memories, and in his tooth I wear and hold sacred around my neck. My father lived for me, and through me he lived for my students, my tradition, and all that I care for. I don't think he knew that the gold chain to which his tooth once clung would someday be a lifeline for myself, for the future of the Khmer dance tradition, for the hopes and dreams of so many. My father tried to prevent me from being a dancer because he did not want me to live a life of struggle and poverty. He would go about in silent disappointment as I argued with my mother about my decision to dance, and I am unsure if they ever talked about her threat to disown me due to it. Years later, myself well gone past the point of no return, my father admitted to a journalist, "When Prom was young, I wanted him to be a doctor, a teacher, or a lawyer. Now, as an artist, he is all of those things and more." For my father from the humble countryside, dance and art is healing and salvation. It is teaching, guidance, and illumination. It is the protection of justice, the triumph of morality. Dance is a life of service to the community. Dance is lifting humanity up. In Hindu and Buddhist thought, the pankaj, the lotus, is valued as a symbol of transcendence. It emerges from the darkness of the mud, rises through the murky depths of the water, to blossom in the freshness of the air and sun. All at once, it touches the four cosmic forces of earth, water, air, and fire. The lotus's transcendence, then, because it is connected to all of life. The lotus is the seat and throne of the divine, the stage and platform upon which the gods dance. In each of our own ways, we are lotuses. And as someone born of the mud of society, I used to long so much for escape. I know now, however, that the mud is beautiful. It is rich. It gives life. I used to long for escape, for disconnection, but I know now that we are all rooted in this mud of life. I used to often long for escape, but now I dance for transcendence. What is the course of our journeys? Have we broken through the darkness, or have we merely gotten comfortable, lost, and stuck along the way? How do we restart and reimagine and reinvent on our ways up? And if and when we make it to the top, what divine idea, message, or being do we want to share and support? Or rather, are these things, like that golden drum beating in the sky, that which draws us to grow and surface in the first place? I hope that we can share the richness of our individual journeys as lotuses on the rise. Trace our journey down to our buried roots to find the ways that we are all woven together, full of powerful similarities, contrasts, and complements. I hope that together we envision a future where all people are seen and heard and valued, one where our cracks and fractures are mended, one where making a space for oneself means making a space for everyone. I hope we can inspire each other with the energy, knowledge, bravery, and kindness needed to manifest this future. In this rapidly changing world, we bear a great responsibility to offer our fullest selves, offer the fullness of our bodies, hearts, and lives. Whose heroes will we be? How can we surprise the ancestors and visionaries who came before us, while giving the children and masters of the future the needed strength, pride, and inspiration to pioneer new paths? Our lotus bodies crowned with enlightenment, our lotus lives the seat and stage of the divine. Let us be better homes and refuges. Make this life, this sacred dance we have, matter for all. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for Prom. So we would like to open this up now for some Q&A. We have staff here down here, and we have some wireless microphones that they can move around. So please raise your hand or wave it wildly if you would like to ask any questions or share something, and we'll just take a couple of questions here. Thank you.
Steve. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story. My question/comment is, how do we bring our whole selves to the table when we know we're going to deal with discrimination? Because your story is one of bringing your whole self to the table, to the dance floor. So how do you bring your whole self, and how does that look like for you when it comes to being authentic?
Growing up as an Asian American, I rarely use that term, and I just used it. Growing up, the literature that we often encountered was kind of this tension, this conflict between the homeland and between our fast-paced contemporary life in America, and how our traditional values and our culture could never be aligned with this reality that we live in, And so it's, for me, I think that's a false dichotomy, and it's, it's this image of trying to situate yourself in a spectrum. Where in the spectrum are you? Are you more Khmer or are you more American? But I think that as I've gotten older, I realize that actually that spectrum exists inside of me. And I have the power to, whenever I need it, for whatever occasion, point to the right word, the right color, the right idea, and use that at whatever moment. So offering our fullest selves, it doesn't mean that we have to be visible all the time. It's one is we have the power to be whoever we are at any moment that we want. But secondly, there's this quote by these ninja students. So they wrote, "The flowers on Mount St. Helens are the most beautiful in the world. I don't envy them for their beauty. I envy them for their courage, for their bravery." It takes a lot of courage to be visible. If someone sees a bush, of course they pick the most beautiful flower. When you are beautiful, you are the most visible. And so I think offering our fullest selves contains, for me anyways, contains those ideas. To have the fearlessness of a flower, where you don't ask for anyone's permission to be who you are, and where you are not afraid to be beautiful. But the second part is being smart and realizing in this moment in time, what is that idea, that word, that question that I need to pull out right now to make sure that my message gets across. So I mentioned bodhisattva in my speech, and in the Buddhist text they say sometimes the bodhisattvas, they appear as a woman if that person needs a woman for enlightenment. Sometimes will appear as Shiva if they need Shiva. Sometimes will appear as a dancer if they need a dancer. So I think it's one about being honest and open and fearless about who we are, but two, also recognizing who are we speaking to. And in my experience, in my vocabulary, in my repertoire, what is the right way to speak to this person, to connect with them, to share with them? I hope that helps. Any other questions? Great, so no more questions.
As Prumsodun was so thoughtfully preparing his remarks and we were in communication, he had the idea of talking about the why we dance. And if you remember, this is something that he spoke very beautifully about in his remarks. So we would like to actually launch a little social media campaign, and you can use it on the mobile app and the social networking there. You could also do it on Twitter and Facebook. But why do you dance? So here is some of the language from his remarks I just want to share back with you. Why? Why are we the ones to be born the way we are in this moment and time? Why do we dance? As icebergs melt, forests disappear, and animals become extinct. As missiles rain down on helpless families and refugees across dangerous seas and landscapes all over the world, and as artificial intelligence blurs the line between human and machine, and the rich look to space colonization and immortality, why do we dance? What is the efficacy of our gestures, the purpose, meaning, and value of our lives? Who are we living for? So please join us over the afternoon and tonight and all day tomorrow and Saturday, and tell us, why do you dance? As a leader, administrator, choreographer, dancer, why this field? Why do you dance? Why do you move?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And now we have coffee and networking, so you can go out into the lobby. And I would like to acknowledge that this particular networking session was sponsored by DLR, listed up here. They are the architecture group that has been working with Playhouse Square to remodel all of these theaters. So please go enjoy the networking, have a great conference, and I'll see you around. Thank you.